Imagine this. You're responsible for 1,000 lives. One wrong decision and people die. How would you decide? Or, possibly closer to your reality, your startup is burning through $50,000 per month. You have 3 months of runway left. Which path do you take? Focus on product A, market B, or pivot entirely? Most of us make decisions chaotically, emotionally, and then we regret them. But what if I told you that there's a process that elite military units have been using for decades, and it can transform your life too? Stick around. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the 7 steps that separate success from disaster.
So in fact, a person who is steeped in the art of war knows how to resolve a conflict in a sane and rational manner. A person steeped in the art of war knows how to avoid petty entanglements, how to choose his or her battles very carefully. A person who knows the art of war actually creates less conflict around him or her, less resistance, and less problems.
And sometimes what you do is you help yourself, because you make the argument that says, this is why we're doing this, and you'll get someone inside the organization who points out there's a better way, saying, wait a minute, we can do this differently and achieve the outcome we need to, and the command sort of rises. But I think I was pleasantly pleased that people were willing to accept really difficult decisions and orders if they understood the purpose clearly.
Do you know that feeling? You're lying awake at night, your mind spinning in circles. Was that the right decision? Should I have acted differently? What if I ruined everything? Maybe you're facing a career decision. Job A offers security, Job B offers growth. But what about Job C, the one you don't even know exists yet? Or you're leading a team. Every decision affects not just you, but 10, 20, 100 other people. The pressure is indeed real. And here's the brutal truth. Most important decisions are made with a gut feeling, some coffee, and the hope that things will somehow work out. That's not strategy. That's gambling. And you know what? I was exactly that too. Multiple times. I remember a moment earlier in my career, a decision I had to make in 3 hours. Budget, quite significantly. Team, waiting. Information, incomplete. I had a sweat on my forehead, my hands were shaking, and honestly I had no idea if I was making the right call. But then I learned something that changed everything. Later in life, I had the privilege of being trained at the military officer school of the land forces. And there, I didn't just learn tactics, I learned processes. And to later studies, many processes that people use when failure is not an option. And that's exactly one of the processes I want to share with you today. The military decision-making process, MDMP for short, is more than just a framework, it's a mindset. Developed over decades, tested in the most extreme situations, refined through thousands of operations. And here's the beautiful part, you don't need to be a general to use it. Whether you're starting a company, leading a team, or simply want to make better life decisions, this process works. As life is a special operation so aptly says, to think outside the box, you must first understand what's inside the box. So let's open it up. Imagine what your life could look like if you no longer feared making decisions. Instead of lying awake at night, you sleep soundly because you know you have to follow a systematic process. Instead of being led by emotions, you make decisions based on facts, analysis, and strategic thinking. Instead of regret, you can say with confidence, I did everything possible, I made the best decision with the information available. That's not arrogance, that's competence. And that's the difference between people who react and people who lead. So, what does the MDMP actually give you? First, clarity. You understand not just your decision, but the bigger context, your leadership's intent, the constraints of your situation. Second, structure. No more chaotic thought spirals. A clear traceable path from problem to solution. Third, risk minimization. You anticipate problems before they occur. You plan for worst-case scenarios. Fourth, communication. You can explain your decisions. Your team understands not just what, but the why. And the best part? You gain a massive advantage over the majority of people who still rely on gut feeling and luck. This will be your competitive edge. Alright, let's dive into the 7 steps of the MDMP. And don't worry, I'll keep this practical. For each step, I will show you not just a military application, but concrete business and life examples. Step 1. Receipt of Mission. Sounds obvious. It's not. Most people skip this step entirely. They rush into action without truly understanding what's expected of them. In the military, this step means 4 critical things. 1.1. Alert. Inform your team immediately no time to waste. 1.2. Initial guidance. Give initial instructions. Activate resources. By the way, we will be airing a further episode on the 1/2/3 time management rule, which will later added to the description. 1.3. Timelines. Set deadlines. When do we need to be ready? When do we need to start? 1.4. Warning order. A one-page order to all subordinate units. What needs to be achieved? By when? Business translation. You receive a project. What do you do? Wrong? Start planning immediately, alone and isolated. Right? Call your team together. Everyone, we have a new project. Here's the objective. Here's the deadline. Start gathering information. We'll meet in 2 hours for the first real briefing. In the military, even more critical. While we're planning, reconnaissance elements are already en route. They're gathering intelligence. They're preparing the terrain. They're not wasting a second, and neither should you. Step 2. Mission analysis. And this is where it gets interesting, because this step is massive. In the official MDMP, the step has 18 subsections. Now, don't panic, I'm not going to bore you with 18 points. Instead, I will show you a streamlined version, the military situation assessment. 7 steps instead of 18, just as effective, much more practical. This is the method I use myself, every day for every important strategic decision. 2.1. Mission evaluation. 6 critical questions. 2.11. What is the commander's intent and higher leadership's intent? In business, what does your CEO really want? What's the true goal behind the project? 2.12. What is my essential contribution, my core delivery? Not what can I do, but what must I deliver? 2.23. What constraints exist? Military, rules of engagement, what I'm not allowed to do. Business, legal boundaries, budget limits, political realities. 2.14. What if fundamental circumstances change? Plan B, Plan C, contingencies. 2.15. Only during ongoing operations. Immediate action required. Is the house on fire? Then put out the fire before you plan. 2.16. Checklist questions. How we can achieve. Systematic thinking through all possibilities. Business example for 2.13. You want to expand into a new market. But what are the legal boundaries? Are there regulatory hurdles? Patents blocking your way? This is your risk matrix. What attacks, metaphorically speaking, could occur where? With what damage potential? Think ahead, avoid traps. 2.2. Terrain and environmental factors assessment. Sun Tzu called it heaven and earth. Terrain and weather. Military? What's the terrain like? Mountainous, flat, urban? Is a storm coming? Well, then air support probably will be staying grounded. Business? What's the market situation? Is the market saturated or growing? What barriers exist for a new product launch? Is your product aligned with current trends? Or you're swimming against the current? You want to expand into India? Better understand the local cultural conditions, the labor market, industrial realities. And if you think Western practices work there one-to-one, good luck. You will need it. From all this, you draw conclusions about the enemy's actions and your own actions. 2.3. Civil situation. Military? How does the civilian population view you? Are they neutral, hostile, supportive? Are they blocking roads, organizing uprisings, or actively helping you? Business? Customer base and public opinion. How does your target audience think about you, about your brand, about your product? And here's a special case many overlook. The significant financially capable customer groups actively seeking offerings that deviate from the mainstream. Everyone says the market wants X, but maybe there's a lucrative niche that wants Epsilon and nobody's serving them. Those are gold mines, but you only find them if you ask this question. 2.4. Enemy situation, or your competition. What information do you have about the opponent? Strength, equipment, training, morale, possible behavior. Business level 1, classical market analysis. Competitive analysis, SWOT, fortified forces, the standard stuff. Level 2, going deeper. Who might have an interest in sabotaging your plans? Are competing companies already positioned in the market you're targeting or trying to do so? Do they possibly have better technology in their pipeline? To all this, we'll be coming back in a regarding episode about the joint intelligence process. Do they have any connections that could throw other obstacles in your path? I've seen a startup with better product fail many times because the competition somehow managed to get insider knowledge or more favorable positioning. New compliance rules, suddenly unaffordable for a small team. Brutal, but reality. So, know your enemy. Really. 2.5. On situation, your resources. What do you have available? Really. Not what do you wish you had, but what is there. and can be put to use. And here you must be brutally honest. Business reality, take us as an example. We at Threaded Gems are a small part-time team. Could we launch a news network tomorrow? No. Could we produce high quality, niche-specific educational content? Absolutely. So, inventory your resources. Team, budget, time, expertise, network, tech stack. From this strength, what's possible? 2.6. Force comparison. Now it gets tactical. You compare your combat power with your opponents, in the context of terrain and mission. Military, do I have enough troops for a frontal assault, or must I seek a flank, or even shift to defense? Business, can I directly challenge the competition, or do I need a niche strategy? Here you apply the law of action, your own capacity for initiative. Where can you set the pace? Leverage strength, offset weaknesses. Your competition has more budget? Okay, but maybe you're more agile, faster, closer to the customer. Use that. 2.7. Force comparison after the engagement. What does the situation look like after you have acted? Projection, simulation, wargame. Coming to again in part 2. 2 additions. 2.8. Mind situation. Has anyone laid traps? Business stratagem special? Could your competition use political connections to impose new bureaucratic requirements on you? Insider knowledge? Or, and this is critical for global operations, could a foreseeable geopolitical conflict cut off your supply chains? Think connected, always. 2.9. Decision. After all this analysis, you make a decision, formulated according to the pattern who does what, when, where, how, and why. Clarity, precision, implementability. Step 3. Course of action development. Now you sketch, plan, simulate. Course of action, a plan, must always meet 5 criteria. 1. Suitable. Does it achieve the objective? 2. Feasible. Can you execute it with your resources? 3. Acceptable. Are the risks bearable? 4. Distinguishable. Is it truly different from other options? 5. Complete. Does it cover all aspects? Business scenario. You want to enter a new industry. Maybe you leverage your existing brand reputation for quality assurance. Option A. Direct launch under existing brand. Option B. Sub-brand with its own branding. Option C. Completely new brand but with subtle connections. Each option has different risks, costs, and potentials. And then, wargame. Simulate each option. What could go wrong? How does the competition react? What are key decision points? These are moments where you must choose between options. Define them in advance. Key events, trigger points. If X happens, then we activate Plan Epsilon. This is proactive strategy, not reactive chaos anymore.
All right. Doctrine tells us, go ahead and conduct the war game using a method of action, reaction, counteraction, and the things that you should consider. And then doctrine moves right along to the results of the war game, what you should have as a takeaway. Okay, big problem. Doctrine doesn't tell us how to do this.
And right here, this is critical point. We are going to stop for today. I know you want the remaining steps. Step 4, course of action analysis, how to truly test your plans. Step 5, COA comparison, how to choose the best option. Step 6, COA approval, how to get buy-in. Step 7, orders production, how to bring everything into execution. Plus, the rapid decision-making process, an even faster variant for dynamic situations. All of this coming in part 2. But here's the deal. If you find this valuable, and I hope you do, show me. Hit the like button, it helps the algorithm show this video to more people who could use it. Subscribe to the channel, part 2 is coming in a few weeks. And most important, write in the comments what decisions are you currently facing. I try to read and respond to each and every one of them. Also, maybe consider joining our Substack or Discord, where regarding workbooks and checklists will be dropped in the future. Next time, the remaining steps, plus how can you execute all of this in less than 24 hours. Until then, make better decisions. Thank you for your attention. This concludes my elaborations.